Alright guys, hello, my name is Carey Ray, and my topic is William Faulkner's health. Okay? So, in fact, first I want to go ahead and address these two pictures right here. That is William Faulkner. But this right here of the black maid and the little white child, that's not William Faulkner. I don't know who that is, but it was a good picture, and it does go ahead and applies to my topic and what I'm going to go ahead and address to you today with his influences. Alright? Do not click the slide. Alright, so one thing as I talk about my topic and as I go into it, I want you guys to focus on two things. One, of course, his influences, who inspired him, who helped develop him, his knowledge, his writing. But two, I also want you to focus on the time period in which he was alive and the events that were happening during that time period, not just in America, but in the world in general. Okay? So, William Faulkner, born in September of 1897, died July of 1962. 1897 to 1962. Just to go ahead, like I said before, the events that were going on in the world during that time, I point out some specific events. 1917, the U.S. enters World War I. 1941, Japanese attacks Pearl Harbor, so the U.S. enters World War II. 1954, Brown versus Board of Education. 1955, Rosa Parks. 1956, the Montgomery bus boycotts. 1957, Little Rock 9. And something that's interesting, he died July of 1962. And just a couple of months later, in October 1962, the Ole Miss riots. And for people who don't know what that is, it was the first black student to attend the University of Mississippi. That's relevant because he's from the Deep South and specifically Mississippi. So keep that in mind. With Faulkner and his style of writing and all of his different contradictions and the way he seems to express his views, equality was not relevant. In fact, honestly, it was still post-Civil War because the Civil War ended in 1865. So just keep that in mind as I mentioned to you about Faulkner and his influences, that during this time period, everything was still crazy. Okay? So, once again, born September 1897, he was the first of 4 brothers, lived with his mom and his dad, pretty much a typical white family at that time. Just to go ahead and jump right into it, he had 3 major influences. Okay, the first one is his mother and his grandmother. And yeah, they were a part of his life, they helped him grow up, but also they were great readers, painters, and photographers. That's relevant because they helped develop his visual language. By visual language, I mean as you're reading a story, and there comes the same visual language as trying to describe a scene, trying to describe a setting through words, and trying to get that picture into your mind. And actually, go ahead and click on the next slide, Ms. Green. Go ahead and click like that. Alright. And I just want to give you an example of how good his visual language is. This is from The Unvanquished. Alright. They made a kind of long wailing sound. And then I felt the whole wagon lift clear off the ground and begin to rush forward. I saw our old rib, gaunted horses standing on their hind feet 1 minute and then turned sideways in the traces the next. And Drusilla leaning forward a little and taunt as a pistol hammer holding bobolink. And I saw men and women and children go under the horses, and we could feel the wagon going over them, and we could hear them screaming. I see that in my mind. I picture that in my mind. That's an example of visual learning, actually having a picture through words. Another major influence, the Mississippi culture and history and his family history. Don't forget, William Faulkner lived in the Deep South. And it's kind of weird for people who are relevant with William Faulkner's novels and his reading, and whoever in his class, the few chosen who read The Unvanquished, for his views, for him to say that he was fond of Mississippi culture and Southern life, and a keynote, his great-grandfather was a colonel in the Confederate Army. So it's weird and it's contradicting, but at the same time, it was a major influence for him when he wrote his books, because he still was a Southerner. He never truly believed in the equality of black people. He never believed in black people going to the same school as whites. Now his third major one, and I want you to click the next slide. Caroline Barr. Last year was 2012. 2011, 2012, there was a movie called The Help. And it described how black maids, how really they're the ones taking care of the white children and not the white parents. Well, William Faulkner, he was in that same type of situation. His black maid who helped raise him and his 4 brothers was Caroline Barr. The reason why Caroline Barr is so significant, and I wrote it down because it sounded really nice, was she inspired his novel preoccupations with the politics of sexuality and race. By that I mean she influenced him. She inspired him for his crazy ideas in the books. She was the one who helped him. She put ideas in his mind that nobody else was thinking about at that time. Also, just to show you how big of an influence she was on his life, she also raised his own daughter. If you didn't know, William Faulkner was a drunk throughout his life. Some people kind of argue about it because he never drank while he wrote, but as in celebration after he finished a novel to de-stress, quote unquote. But that's probably an excuse for everybody. But Caroline Barr instilled in him his type of views and stuff like that. So go ahead and click on the next slide. Click. Alright, okay, so I want to go ahead and read you this, because with William Faulkner, what he does with his views that he's been influenced by Caroline Barr, he's not blunt about how he sees things. He doesn't just flat out tell you he feels that blacks should be equal or the stuff like that. He underlies his views under the characters in his books and under the stories in his books. So here's a quote from The Unvanquished, once again, with 2 characters, Uncle Buck and Buddy. 2 white men, and just how, I want you to take into consideration how different this is from what everybody else was doing at his time. Alright, there was more to Uncle Buck and Buddy than just that. They believed that land did not belong to the people, but that the people belonged to the land. And that the earth would permit them to live on and out of it and use it only so long as they behaved. And that if they did not behave right, it would shake them off just like a dog getting rid of fleas. Guys, 1897 to 1962, I have to keep pressing on that. Nobody, especially in the South, you were insane to consider, to even consider thinking about this. But these are the type of things that William Faulkner would write in his novels. And Caroline Barr was a big help, a big influence on that. Also, Caroline Barr was such a big influence that he described or made 3 characters based off of Caroline Barr. Molly, Dizzle Gisman, and Mamie Caroline Nelson, who all, out of coincidence, I guess, are wives, black women, and they seem to be like the strong hand of the family. They seem to be the backbone. They care about everybody, and they have love for each one of the characters in the family. So, with William Faulkner, and the reason why he is so significant is because there was probably more people like William Faulkner during that time, but he won awards, he got noticed. William Faulkner won a Nobel Peace Prize for Literature. He has 2 Pulitzer Prizes. He also has 2 National Book Awards. So, William Faulkner, William Faulkner, he actually got recognized, and people saw how different, how out of the box he was. Click on the next slide. There's other examples I want to show you in which William Faulkner did with his writing, and one of them is called I call it the ultimate run-on. And that's where sometimes he would have pages where it would just be a whole page with 1 sentence. And it would be a run-on sentence. And it kind of catches you up, but in a way, once again, he's underlining his views through his characters and through his writing style. Okay? So, but now it was that urgent, even though Ringo was a nigger too. Because Ringo and I had been born in the same month and had both fed at the same breast and had slept together and eaten together for so long that Ringo called Granny Granny. just like I did, until maybe he wasn't a nigger anymore, or maybe I wasn't a white boy anymore. The two of us neither, not even people any longer. Once again, that's really kind of insane to say that. And he's so weird and so contradicting, because he enjoys Southern history and he enjoys his family background. But when he's talking about stuff like that, not only is it a run-on sentence in the style, but once again he's sending another message about equality between whites and blacks. Alright, click the slide one more time. There's this last quote, and I don't want to just keep pressing on how he talked about whites and blacks and how they were equal and how he expressed his views just about them. But really anything in general, William Faulkner just about contradict. I keep taking quotes from The Unvanquished because that's the book I read. The Unvanquished is placed during Civil War and post-Civil War. 1862, 1865, and then 10 years after. And for people who are relevant with history or who care to read or go to school, they know that women, there were a couple of trailblazers, but for the most part, they didn't fight in the war. Now, once the men left for war, they had the most important job of taking care of the household and also producing materials for the war, but people didn't look at them, at least during that time, as a significant factor or a significant figure. Once again, William Faulkner, crazy as can be, contradicts that idea by introducing a character named Drusilla. So, here, it's in The Unvanquished. Then she saw me. She was not tall, it was the way she stood and walked. She had on pants like a man, and she was the best woman rider in the country. By putting a woman, and just by describing her, having a character like that, once again, it contradicts the general ideas of the Deep South and what the people thought. And throughout all of William Faulkner's novels, and specifically The Unvanquished, because I read The Unvanquished, through each chapter is something else in which William Faulkner is just spitting views, or spitting ideas, or spitting his knowledge, but underlying it through his characters. So, his three main influences, his mother and grandmother, Southern culture, his family culture, and the most major one, Caroline Barr. That is what inspired him to write all of his famous books and win all of his famous awards. Alright, that's it.